We were standing in this circle, and we started hearing loud noises.
And in that moment, I just felt like my blood was like ice. I didn't understand what was happening, but I was like, this is not good.
You see people being killed. I called my mom to tell her that I would come home.
You could hear the shots were still going on when you were leaving the island, and sort of feeling like a coward because you were leaving your friends behind.
I asked, where's my brother? One of the guys sat down with me and he just told me, your brother was shot in the head.
Every time I'm going back to Ireland, I carry this feeling that I'm here in a way just to let her know that I never left her. I did what I could.
I don't like the victim label because I never felt like a victim. I always felt like I was a survivor.
As teenagers, they survived the most violent terror attack Norway has ever seen. Ten years later, 5 survivors talk to us of their scars and explain the strength of their resilience. On July the 22nd, 2011, Norway suffered its most deadly attack since the Second World War. The first of 2 attacks destroyed Oslo's city centre. An hour and a half later, less than 20 miles from the capital, 69 teenagers who were gathered on the island of Utoya were systematically shot at and killed.
"10 years is a long time. Many things have happened since that date in July 2011. I made it so far. Every time that I go there on this island, it's like a mixed feeling. One side of me is a little bit nervous and a little bit afraid, but on the other side, I feel a little bit lighter every time. You know, every time that I go there and nothing terrible happens, it's a relief. This island, it's a free place for youth kids to have big visions. The world will tell you you can never change it. But on this island, there was room and space for you to believe that you could change it.
Utøya is a beautiful, peaceful island, small island in a big lake outside Oslo. What is special with Utøya is that that's an island which is owned and run by the labor movement, the Young Labour Party. summer after summer and since 1950. The island has been a place for generations to meet, where the political leaders of the party are available, are close to the youth organization, for political discussions, for big speeches. But Utøya is also for young people just having fun.
I chose AUF because of on the back side of the brochure, it was a picture of Utøya and a description of what that was about. And I was like, I really want to go to this camp. And I liked the left more than the right.
I was kind of searching for something to inspire me. There I found the Labour Party's youth, where we could discuss politics and I could hang out with people who were older than me, and I felt a bit more, I felt a bit more at home than I did in my class.
When we arrived, we were pumped and ready and happy with my brother. We had to get together and set up our tents.
With my friend Tamta, we were accommodated in the room for international guests. It was kind of honor, you know. Everyone else was sleeping in the tent.
So it was quite chaotic, but I think, you know, it's when you see young people who are full of motivation and, you know, so much looking forward to have the best summer of their life.
People just walked around talking to each other, very social, very happy. People were excited to be there because they knew it was going to be fun.
Tunnel.
The morning of 22nd, we were playing a soccer game.
There were football and volleyball competitions between the counties. So that was very important for everyone to win.
All over the side, your county would cheer for you.
Me and my brother played soccer all the time. We won that morning, and that was, so we were happy about that.
At 3:25 p.m. in Oslo, an explosion ravaged the tower block which is home to the Norwegian Parliament. By chance, the Norwegian Prime Minister was absent.
I was in my residence working on the speech I was going to deliver at Utøya the day after. I was called by my colleagues in the Prime Minister's office, and they told me that there was a big explosion in front of the government building. After half an hour or something, you get more and more credible information that this was not an accident, this was a bomb, this was an attack.
Less than 20 miles away, 564 young people from the Labour Party's Youth League, who were gathered together on the island of Utoya, were informed of the attack.
I remember us getting told that we all had to be gathered like in the main hall. Everyone just sat down and they were like, we have an important message to you. Then they were like, there has been an explosion in Oslo. They didn't say bomb, they said explosion.
What I thought immediately it was that maybe it was a gas leakage or something. And I remember that I told to Tamta that, oh, it's so ironic that like we are here for 1 week for the first time and then something like this happens. Like I was like irritated in a way.
I called my mom and said, I'm safe. This is fun. I don't know. And she was like, oh yeah, I know you're safe. You're on the safest place in the world. You're on the island.
I remember that someone said that we're safe, everything is good, and there's a policeman on his way over to like secure the place or something.
At 4:55 p.m., an hour and a half after he'd launched his attack in Oslo, a man in uniform stepped onto the island of Utoya. He was carrying an assault rifle and a Glock semi-automatic pistol.
We were standing in this circle, and we started hearing loud noises.
It was just like, and it kind of filled the whole island with sound in a way. I'd never heard anything that loud in that way before.
I just thought that it was someone banging something hard, some iron. And someone in the group said, "That's a Glock." And that was someone who knew how a Glock sounded.
I came back to the room where Tanta should wait for me, and she wasn't there anymore.
And it just went quiet. And then everyone was just looking at each other, and just the fear growing. I remember that very vividly.
Then a group of young people just came running to us, and they were like, "Someone's shooting at us." I saw this bullet flying over me and just hitting the ground in front of me. In that moment, I realized like someone is actually trying to kill us right now.
I was in there, looking out the window. You see people being killed. You hear they're screaming. You can see them screaming. But your 16-year-old brain can't comprehend what is actually happening.
We rushed out from the building and we went to the forest. I remember that we were hearing like shots from behind. They were coming closer and closer. We saw a group of people. They were laying on the ground. And I thought that they were hiding, you know, they were kind of hugging each other. But then I came closer and saw that, yeah, all of them were shot.
Me and my brother, we were running together. We got to the cliffs, and someone was there just to say, "Hey, there's a spot here." First, when we came there, we could hide. And then everyone else from the camp and other people also came down there. And we gave space to everyone who came.
I think there was room for 5 people, maybe, as a good hiding spot, and we were about 30.
And in the end, we were not hiding at all. We were in plain sight.
He has like full view. So he's just standing on the path, just aiming down and just shooting, like executing all of us, basically.
I said to my brother, like, "We have to jump." And he said no. And I said, like, we're jumping. I'm jumping. I don't know exactly. And then I jumped, like, run, get the fuck out of here. I was just looking for the nearest cave, and I found one. It was pretty small, perfect for me because I was very small. I was 14. And I went inside and I was like, this is a good place for me and my brother because my brother is right behind me, right, in my head. So I was just sitting there and waiting for him to come around the edge. He didn't. And I thought, oh, okay, he just found a better place to hide.
A lot of people were hiding behind the pump house. We were extremely quiet. There was this guy dressed in black that looked like a policeman who told people to come forward, come forward, we're here to save you. Seems kind of weird, to be honest. And then I think some people were screaming like, no, don't go forward. And people were going forward because they thought they were being saved. I started running towards the opposite direction on the slippery rocks. I threw myself out in the water and then started swimming around the island. And then I could just hear it shooting at people behind me. 15 people were shot at the pump house.
I get hit in my shoulder first. And then I got shot in the stomach. I think that was pretty bad because there's absolutely no memory of it in my mind. Then he shoots me in the left thigh and the right thigh. I was 100% sure that I was going to die and just thought, okay, at least this is a beautiful place to die. And that's something, I guess. Because it was very pretty. I was thinking like a 14-year-old, and I was like, what am I gonna miss if I don't survive this? And the first thought that popped in my head was that, oh shit, I'm not gonna get to see the last Harry Potter movie. And I had read all the books, I had seen all the movies, but that was the first thought that that hit me. But I realized I don't want to die. This is, this is something that I should try to survive at least. And I thought, okay, now you gotta stay calm and don't panic, because if you panic, your heart's gonna beat faster and you're gonna bleed out faster. So just breathe, try to stay awake as long as you can.
I remember thinking that maybe he would spare me if I looked as young as possible. I remember doing this with my hair because I knew that I saw a little bit younger when I had my hair like this, and I was preparing what I was gonna say or do, or how or pitching my voice as light as possible. I thought that this was a little chance to survive.
At 6:34 p.m., the police arrived on the scene. They arrested the attacker, a 32-year-old man who put up no resistance. In fact, he wished to stay alive in order to make his demands known. Anders Behring Breivik is an extreme right-wing activist who claims to have acted to save Norway and Europe from Muslim invasion and its supposed left-wing collaborators. Within 72 minutes, he managed to kill 69 people in cold blood. His victims were mainly teenagers. Those who made their escape were not aware that the massacre was over.
When we got nearly halfway, a boat came. I remember this one guy just grabbing me with one hand, and I'm over 100 kilos, just in the boat.
I heard this boat's engine go around the corner of the island, and then I heard a person yell, "We're the police, is anyone alive here?" And I thought, finally, yes.
I ran to the boat and I jumped in it. Then I got like an arm around me and a really nice guy just looking at me and saying that it's over. We're safe now. And the person is caught, the police is here. Everyone can come in the boat. If there's someone hurt, then we'll take them first, and yeah, things like that. And that's when I released that. I started crying and started feeling and I cried a lot on that boat ride out of the island.
I remember the girls sitting on the boat with me, and they were hugging each other, and they hugged me and said that we are so lucky that we survived. I thought that I was not completely sure yet if I was lucky enough, because I did not know anything about Tanta.
I remember leaving the island and sort of like feeling like, yeah, like a coward, because you were leaving your friends behind. And I think that was what all of us were feeling, but nobody were talking about, I guess.
We came on the mainland. I saw like young people, they were shot. Like ambulance was on the place and they were taking care of them.
You heard about tens and tens of people being killed, and people started asking me all these questions about other people, which I could not, of course, not answer, even though I knew that I've seen some of them being killed.
And I remember buses. They were coming and picking up the young people and transporting them to Sundvolden hotel. New people were coming with those buses, and Tanta came never with them. I received the information that she was not alive anymore.
I remember very clearly just seeing the faces of all the people who came off the buses, like one bus, another bus. And I went up to some of them who came and to hug me and everything, and I asked, "Where's my brother? Where's Viljar?" And they were like, you know, and I was like, what happened? Like, where's my brother? And then one of the guys understood that I actually didn't know. And he sat down with me and he just told me that your brother is shot. He was shot in the head and he was lying by the water for a long time. And that was it, really. And then my parents came. I remember seeing my parents very well, and then my mom was calling all the hospitals to find out if someone could identify my brother.
It was important for me to go to Sundvolden and to meet the relatives, those who had lost their loved ones, but also to meet actually those who have survived. It was important for me to do this as Prime Minister of Norway. It was important for me to go there as leader of the Labour Party, because it was the youth organization of the Labour Party that was attacked. And then it was important for me to go there as a friend, as Jens Stoltenberg, because I knew many of those who were killed, and I knew many of those who were the parents, the friends of those who lost their life at Utøya.
I remember getting into the ambulance and then thinking, now I'm not responsible anymore. I can relax.
I asked one of the nurses if it was far until we would, arrive at the hospital. And she said, it's only 5 minutes. I was really, really cold. So they weren't able to put like any needles inside my blood veins because it was too cold. My body was filled with water, like inside the lungs and all over the body. Because I've been swallowing way too much water while swimming. But except from that, it was really nothing compared to many of the people that was in the hospital.
We got the call from the hospital who said that they had identified my brother, that they didn't want to tell us what condition he was in, but just that we should come there. Yeah, and I remember walking into the room where my brother was and just seeing all the tubes and the cords and the things, and also the injuries, and the half of the face was just covered in things and you couldn't really see him. And I couldn't be there for more than like 10 seconds, then I had to go out. And then maybe half an hour later I was there for 10 more seconds, and then I went out again. So I didn't manage to be there. Like, I couldn't see him. But when he woke up, I was there every day. He was clear in his head, and he was being funny. But he still had a fragment of the bullet in his brain that they didn't know if it was going to stay there, so he could die at any second.
In the moment when I woke up, I was just like, this is so confusing. I don't know what happened when and where, and yeah. Everything hurt. I couldn't really lift my arms. I couldn't turn myself in bed. I was completely paralyzed. I couldn't do anything at all.
There was a girl next to me. Of course, there was a curtain between us. And the first time, like, the curtains went away, like, we said hello. And one of the first things she asked me is, where have you been shot? And for me, I wasn't shot, you know. I felt kind of embarrassed because she was shot several places. Having her besides me was a constant reminder of how hard this attack hit us.
Just 4 weeks after the tragedy occurred, on August the 20th, 2011, the bereaved families and the Utoya survivors made a courageous return journey to the island. Accompanied by a psychologist, they once again came face to face with the horrors of their experience, a therapeutic exercise aimed at helping them rebuild their lives.
That is when the wound is still open, that you have the possibility to face reality. Getting the balance between what you still have in your thoughts and the fantasies that are developing, and having the possibility to check out the reality. And that's kind of important, that it doesn't take too long, and that the surroundings still are so much like as possible.
I really felt the need to see it, because then it was all just a hazy memory in my mind, and I didn't know what was real and what was not. I just really needed to know.
Me and my mom and dad and little brother, we came here. And for them, it was also important to see, to feel, and experience the island, because they had never been here and they wanted to see for themselves what it was like. And I think that was a very important step in the healing process for them as well.
When I first went back to Georgia, My feeling was that they could not relate to my experiences. So it was in a way difficult for me to handle. The reason why I decided to move to Norway was that I wanted to have a community around me who could understand actually what I was going on as a survivor of something that I could not put words on.
I was starting in 10th grade that autumn. It was strange. I mean, I had I felt like a very strange feeling in my body because I was sort of on high alert. I just felt that someone could be sitting in that house and shooting at me.
The first weeks and the first months, I couldn't sleep. I didn't have an appetite. I was very sad, very angry. How are you able to go to school? How can you maintain relationship with anyone? Your family, your friends, school, teachers. Everything was really, really hard at the time because I was only problems. I was making noise. I was shouting, I was screaming, I was crying. My parents were frustrated, my teachers, my friends. I was frustrated. So it came to a point where I wanted to end my life.
I felt like everything was without meaning. I was lost. I was not okay at all. I hated being in school because my brain was always analyzing the probability of a massacre and the probability of me surviving that massacre. I always looked for places to hide. There were, of course, people wanting to help. There were psychologists, which I really liked. He had worked with a lot of people in traumatic happenings, and he had worked with people who'd been in war. He was not emotionally affected by anything I said, and he was just offering me solutions and different perspectives and things like that. And I really liked him. I remember he told me, like, what do you think is the worst thing that can happen? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm scared of being scared. That's because the feeling of being scared was from Utøya was so intense, and I was so scared of feeling that again. And he was like, yeah, the worst thing that will happen if you feel really, really, really scared is that you pass out. And that's it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not so bad.
Making their trauma publicly known to the Norwegian justice system is an essential step to rebuilding the lives of the Utoya survivors.
A trial in Norway is not a circus. It is dignity and it's rules. This case of 22nd of July was the most difficult trial in the Norwegian history.
On April the 16th, 2012, 9 months after the tragedy, the trial of Anders Behring Breivik, the man behind the Oslo attack and the Utoya massacre, began. He was charged with the murder of 77 people. The right-wing extremist admitted his crimes, but did not plead insanity. He wanted to use the trial as a political platform.
This is how Anders Behring Breivik want to be seen in the courtroom. It is a person who had a dream to be a kind of a leader in a fight between what he called multiculturalism and the white Norwegian race, and to be a leader of a kind of a resistant movement against the leading politicians in Norway, and also against the value of tolerance, the value of equality we appreciate in Norway.
Since I was under 16, I could choose if I wanted to testify or not. My mom asked me if I wanted to, and I was like, yes, of course. We were asked if we wanted to have him in the courtroom. Yes. That is kind of the whole point of me testifying. It's strange being back. It's weird. Because I remember it as a lot bigger than it is. I feel like this is a very small room for all of the people who were supposed to be here, like family were sitting all over the benches and all of the media. I feel like he was sitting over there on that chair. I wanted him to hear what I had to say. So I had a very, very strong feeling that I just wanted to be like, ha, you didn't kill me, basically, to him. And that was sort of my motivation of testifying, in a way, and also putting him in jail. He didn't look at me, which I thought was interesting. But I mean, it kind of told me that he's a coward as well. I mean, if you don't look at the 15-year-old girl that you shot, then, I mean, yeah, that's...
I went to the trial, but not to testify. I was very scared. I was very confused. I concepted him in my mind. He was just a really threatening and scary, monstrous sound, really. He was more of a sound to me than an actual being. But the being must have been something horrendous, like it was. My conception of him was really scary. I saw his face when he went into the courtroom. I felt relief, and I laughed. I was smiling, actually. He was just like a regular old human, and that was good for me to see.
After 2 months on trial, Anders Behring Breivik was sentenced to 21 years in prison, the maximum sentence in Norway.
The trial was very important, partly because this is the only way to ensure justice, to, in a way, clarify what happened, and it was also a way for all those who were directly affected to go through all the events. We all were very impressed by the courage, the strength, and the calm these young people were able to convey and demonstrate during the trial.
Of course it is possible to recover. If I should say something else, it would be a tragedy. That is possible, but it needs a lot of effort, strength, and time.
It's like a roller coaster. For a year or two, you're feeling bad, but then you might feel good for many years, and then all of a sudden it will strike you again. That is the hard part about PTSD. So I went to New York to study, to the US, to see everything else except from Norway. No one knew me, no one knew my story. I didn't know anyone. It was just a getaway. But it helped me a lot. You have to be the one who drags yourself up and kick yourself out the door, because no one else will do it for you. And when I realized that, that's when things started getting better.
I used to be obsessed with trying to remember because there were so many things that I had forgotten. And I thought that maybe one of the things I had to do in my healing process was to remember everything. I really wanted to go as deep as I could. And I have done that so many times without any memory coming up. Now I don't really feel that need so much. And I've kind of let go. Maybe I'm not ever supposed to remember, and that's totally fine. Hallo, jeg heter Torje. I learned pretty early that it felt good to talk. One of the reasons is because it's part of the healing process for me to be able to speak. Having someone listening to you, that's valuable in itself. When you have traumatic experiences, one thing you can do is write things down. For me, speaking is more of my thing.
If you could say something to Breivik, what would it be? I'd be curious to ask him how he's lived these last 10 years. I'd be very interested to know.
Det veldig spennende å leve med at du har tatt livet av så mange.
He has to live with the fact that he's killed many innocent people.
Det interessant for meg om
So what would be interesting is to know if today, confronted with the past, he would be able to regret, to realize the seriousness of his actions.
Gjort grusomme ting. To listen to stories that are brutal and sad makes most people want to do good. A lot of people have told me after I have these kinds of talks or whatever, that they now want to hug their parents or hug their brother and sister, or they want to do something important or change.
I think it's important for us to talk about it to show how bad it can get if we don't talk about extremism and terrorism and counter-terrorism. So I think it's important that we tell the story and talk about what happened to us. Because I believe no one should be shot for their opinions. It's not how it works.
If it's necessary to find a meaning with this tragedy, it's a very good question. I've been trying for a long time to find the meaning behind it. I don't think anyone can answer that. But what is important to me is that we learn from it, that we never forget about what happened, why it happened, and what we can do in the future to prevent anything like this happening again. I hope that we can move on as a society, not only Norway, but include the rest of the world, that we can move together in the same direction and that we can learn from these tragedies.
I believe that we need to be more direct in our demands to our governments in regards to how we are supposed to handle this internationally. And therefore we need to build alliances and we need to build friendship across borders to be able to handle this in the best way possible.
Being angry is not helping anyone. I don't want to be angry. I don't like being angry, actually. I think it's a very destructive state. And I, for myself to not hold anger, I need to forgive. And I do that. Or at least I try. And I just really love to feel love. I want to be a loving person, I think. That's important to me for some reason.
I feel that I'm at the right place right now. When you have this strong feeling of caring for another person, like your fight becomes much stronger, at least. Since my son came to the world, I think that I will at least try to do my best to build the society where there is place for everyone. And where people can be proud for their backgrounds.
Yes, I'm a survivor, but I'm also Erik. I am Erik who loves football, who loves my family, who loves cars, theaters, music, beer. I'm that guy who is a lot more than just Utoya. I was about to run naked through the city because then people will think of me like the naked man instead of the guy from Utøya. I hope that the progress that I've had for the last 10 years, that it keeps going upwards, that things do get better with time.
If it was me who were brutally murdered, would I want people to stay home and cry all day, or would I want them to go out and change the world? If we can manage to do a life better for anyone, to do the place a little bit safer, that's enough for me.
I've got 5 new scars. And I don't have the time or energy to stress about them. My brain knows. It's important to focus on what you think is fun and what makes you happy, and yeah. Because if I only focus on something that I don't like and I die tomorrow, that would be very sad. I think it's gonna work out. I just don't know how yet. Ah, scary.